is that actually very nice defending.
I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Man. Come on. And just as the big man and the legend Ian Wright said there, people deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. Let's quickly, very briefly and quickly go over all the latest rumours, talking points, and all of that stuff concerning Arsenal Football Club. I'm sure you lot have seen the name Zubimendi linked with Arsenal several times. We was linked with him last January. If it seems like you might not know the player, but it rings a bell. Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta has reportedly added La Liga duo Martin Zubimendi and Tchouaméni to his list of transfer targets. The Gunners are at risk of losing Thomas Partey in January, with the midfielder allegedly becoming dissatisfied with his role at the Emirates Stadium. I thought we'd lose him in January because he's participating at AFCON, and obviously the man can't stay fit. Mikel Arteta has had his press conference and spoken on Thomas Partey's fitness, where he hasn't seemed too optimistic, if I'm completely honest. I would love Zubimendi, but, you know, it feels like this is coming full circle. You know, we tried to get him in January. He said he doesn't want to leave his boyhood club mid-season. With them being in the Champions League and doing what they're doing in La Liga, I don't know. A year can change things. You know, 1 year Mikel Arteta rejected the Arsenal job and then took it. But who knows, people? I would love the man at the carpet. Can't see him or Tchouaméni signing for Arsenal Football Club in January. We'd love either one in the summer. Again, I don't really buy the links with Tchouaméni. You know, Real Madrid are creating a dynasty, essentially, people, with the Jude Bellinghams, the Arda Gülers, the Camavingas, and all of these sort of players in terms of their age. And Tchouaméni's not had an easy time with fitness, still getting to grips with stuff at Real Madrid. If they're crazy enough to sell him, then bring him into the club, people. Fabrizio Romano, apologies, has poured cold water on the Tchouaméni links anyways, people. According to Calcio Mercato, the Spaniard has expressed an interest in signing both Real Sociedad's Zubimendi and Real Madrid's Tchouaméni. Arsenal attempted to sign Zubimendi earlier this year, but Real Sociedad didn't want to sell, and the 24-year-old was reluctant to leave. For all the links to both Arsenal Football Club and Barcelona, you know, in January and in the summer, he stayed put. So interest in actually buying someone is a completely different thing. Xavi, the Barcelona boss, is an admirer. As you lot know, he does also have a £53 million release clause. So I have to see. And Thomas Partey has been linked with Juventus as well. Obviously, Arsenal are going to get linked with midfielders anyways. With Partey's injury, he's going to get linked with moves away, and obviously in terms of a replacement. So we have to tread carefully. Once again, several outlets are reporting the same thing. Real Madrid, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham are all interested in signing Feyenoord striker Santiago Jimenez, according to reports. Currently, at the time of making this video, he has 15 goals in 32 appearances, people. And the 22-year-old Mexican international is doing quite well. In a day and age where there isn't a widespread amount of household names as strikers, I wouldn't mind it. For what it's worth, Feyenoord allegedly want an Eredivisie record sale of 87 million, with the Gunners, Spurs, Real Madrid, and Inter Milan also keen, people. He's a good player. I don't know if Arsenal will move for him in January. Big up Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard as well, people, for being nominated for the Ballon d'Or. They were never going to win it with someone like Lionel Messi, but just having their names in the top 30, it's a step in the right direction for our two quality players, people. David Seaman has said David Raya is finding it tough to adapt to life at a big club because of all the attention. You say that, and obviously playing for Arsenal and Brentford's different, but this is a man who, you know, left his country at 16 years of age and has been in some tough scenarios and been on loans. Form is temporary, class is permanent. At the end of the day, it's not that us fans and media outlets don't have an opinion or a voice. If the world is saying you're playing poorly, rightly or wrongly, if Mikel Arteta is the one that believes in you, then that's all you need. But for what it's worth, our legendary goalie said it's tough at the moment and it's tough on Aaron. David's finding it tough to adapt to playing at a big club because of all the attention that's on it and the pressure, and it's another level from what he's used to at Brentford. I remember when I was at Arsenal, they paid a lot of money for Richard Rice, who joined from Ipswich for $6 million in 2001. He came in as my number 2, and I thought, whoa, this is serious competition. But I showed him what I could do. There you have it, people. But the manager, Arsene Wenger, at the time didn't say I'm going to rotate the goalies. That's what Arteta has said. So now we're looking, watching and thinking, David's not having the best of times at the moment and he's making a couple of mistakes. Will he get rotated? And if that happens, when Mikel's true to his word. But it's tough because Aaron has not done a lot wrong. Last year, he was goalkeeper of the year as voted by the players. That's one of the biggest awards that you could ever hope for. Then he started this season really well, played against Scotland and finds himself on the bench. Aaron is only 24. He still has a lot of time to learn his trade, but it's tough on him at the moment. And I think Aaron Ramsdale could be someone that departs in the summer. Where he goes, I don't know. But we've tied down his deal and his best years are in front of him at 24 years of age. I personally think Arteta has made it clear who's the number one, and if he hasn't had that conversation with David Raya, and Aaron Ramsdale, then it's reflected by who's playing and who's not playing. I don't think David Raya has made that spot indispensable, and you can't take his spot from him. But right now, Ramsdale's going to have to play the waiting game, and I do have to wonder. David Raya was our top target before Aaron Ramsdale. Has he said, you know what, Arteta could have said a bunch of things. He could have said, genuinely, I'm going to rotate both players, and you both get game time. He could have said, one's the cup and one's the league goalie. He could have said, you know what, Aaron, it's your spot, but David Raya's coming to take it if you're messing about. Has he said, you know what, David Raya is my number one? Aaron Ramsdale, you have an opportunity. We never know. Obviously, no matter how much the game changes, you still need to be able to catch a ball with your feet. Catch a ball with your hands. But it's with the feet for me with Raya. I think they're in the same bracket. But when you look at Raya's starting position and stuff, Aaron Ramsdale doesn't quite do that. So that could be something in that regard. So we'll have to see. Ivan Toney links won't go away, people. Arsenal and Chelsea in 80 million battle for battle brimming with risk and reward. Let's scroll all the way down. Toney looks set to be on the move next year, and after his betting ban ends, he could be the subject of a January transfer battle between Arsenal and Chelsea. Brentford are willing to sell the striker and a set up price tag of 80 million for a player who will be in the final 18 months of his contract when he's free to play again on January the 17th. Now, again, Ivan Toney's a quality player, but do you spend 80 million on him in January, or do you wait until the summer where you can assess several targets that may or may not be available? People, every day Arsenal's linked with another striker. At the end of the day, he's got 18 months left on his deal. In the summer, he'll have 12. So they won't be in a position to play hardball over 80 million. It all depends. I do think we like Toney's I do think we like Toney's ability and his profile. I do think there's a degree to get a deal done, but it probably depends on us not breaking the bank. You could make a case for Arsenal in the summer. In January, our priority needs to be central midfield, among others, people. Ivan Toney's changed agents and he's made it clear he wants to move. And I would say with Ivan Toney, he's not played for a number of months now. Is he ready? Is he in the best peak condition, ready to impact immediately? I don't know, people. For what it's worth, Arsenal are weighing up whether to bolster their forward line to boost their title bid, and the availability of a proven goal scorer could spark a bidding war between the London rivals. It seems like Jesus is susceptible to picking up an injury or two. Big up Eddie Nketiah on his hat-trick, and we hope he can do the business. But, if I'd be lying, speaking for myself, if there was a degree of willingness to get a deal done for Ivan Toney or any other striker, that I would say no to it. If we could buy another striker, if we can get another winger, if we could get a central midfielder or two, and anywhere else Arteta wants to develop, then I think we're getting more or less a complete squad, people. Brentford hope foreign clubs could enter the race, but as things stand, Arsenal and Chelsea are the front runners to sign the 27-year-old. And really and truly for Ivan Toney, I think he's someone that relishes competition, but it seems like there's an immediate spot for you to start at Chelsea as a striker, same way with Spurs. Is that necessarily clear of Arsenal? If he came to Arsenal, I think all three strikers in a weird way could coexist with, you see the amount of games and Jesus being able to play out wide. Ivan Toney and Nketiah, and obviously Jesus could play, and we've seen injuries, but I'd imagine that would mean Eddie Nketiah's days potentially could be numbered, not in January. Both clubs know there'll be an element of risk attached to signing a player coming back from an 8-month ban, and will weigh up whether that is worth the potential reward. Arsenal have often been reluctant to do big business in January, adding a possible 10 goals from Toney in the second half of the season could make the difference in the title race. Don't think anybody else can disagree. Arsenal have made one of their primary targets if they do decide to sign a striker. They have also scouted Feyenoord's Santiago Jimenez and Wolves' Pedro Neto, who can also play out wide. Offer much more versatility. But after spending more than 200 million in the summer, the Gunners may need to offload players first. I can't see us offloading Smith Rowe, Eddie Nketiah, Aaron Ramsdale. I only say those sort of names because they're linked with moves. Partey or Jorginho in January, and I couldn't say it necessarily makes sense to let people go, really. So I have to see. Apparently, his aerial prowess is attractive to both Chelsea and Arsenal, with only Luton, Everton and Manchester United putting more crosses into the box this season. I don't want us to become a crossing side, but if we have the scope to do such, then why not do it, people? Ben Jacobs has been speaking about Aaron Ramsdale, and he said Arsenal aren't keen to let the goalkeeper go. He says Arsenal want to keep Ramsdale around, going as far as to say that the Gunners will do everything they can to keep the 25 million pound man at the club. As far as January is concerned, I still think it'd be difficult for any clubs. We hear about Chelsea, of course. They're discussing players like Ramsdale internally, but Robert Sanchez is seen as the number one goalkeeper. which means Ramsdale's just swapping clubs but going through the same thing. Arsenal will not want to lose a player like Ramsdale, who is a positive influence even when he's not playing halfway through the season. Of course, there'll be rumours, there'll be interest, and there'll be inquiries, but I think Arsenal will probably do everything they possibly can to hang on to Ramsdale, even if Raya is number one at the moment, people, which I think we all agree. Apparently, Kirill was linked with a move to Sevilla, ironically, who we played in the Champions League, and Mikel Arteta vetoed against that, people. Apparently, this article said, we haven't talked about it publicly, but some time has passed. The topic is no longer hot, and in hindsight, no one will be offended if we reveal the name of the club. Sevilla really wanted to loan Kirill to join them in the last transfer window. The club was supposed to fight until the end, but it was not enough to convince the Arsenal coach Mikel Arteta. He said no to Sevilla. That's why Kirill stayed at Arsenal, and that's maybe why Toney, even more reason, was let go, because on the face of it, Tomiyasu, Zinchenko, Timber, obviously with his injury, they could all play there, really. And shout out Kirill. It's just unfortunate that you've got Zinchenko and Tomiyasu on the left-hand side. Obviously, you've got Gabriel and Saliba as centre-halves, but he's proven himself to be a competent player. Once again, Arsenal are still keeping tabs on Crystal Palace defender Mark Guehi, and he's got a £50 million odd asking price, and Chelsea have a sell-on clause. If that's what Mikel Arteta wants to do, if we could have 3 quality centre-backs, why not? Big up Kirill, but I'm not saying he's not quality, but you'd imagine if you sign Guehi for that money, he's going to be a rotation option. So that's someone that's arguably going to start week in, week out with a Gabriel or Saliba or something of that, people, really and truly. Manchester City and Manchester United are also interested, and Spurs have previously been linked, people. It's believed that Arteta is driving Arsenal's interest, and they are in the lead for any future move as things stands. The Gunners are keen to find a long-term defensive partner for Saliba in the heart of their defense. So what does that mean in relation to Gabriel, who's also recently signed a new deal? Again, a couple of clubs have been linked with an Irish wonder kid, never seen him play, but Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid are considering a move for talented Irish youngster Naz Razi, who is also being tracked by Premier League trio Manchester City, Arsenal and Chelsea. He only just turned 17 last Saturday, people, and he plays in central midfield, people. He's able to play as a 10 and on the wing, and I mean, who doesn't want those players, really and truly? And apparently he's got a UK-based agency, so who knows, really and truly. Never seen him play to comment, but that's that. Apparently, Arsenal are advancing in relation to Benjamin White talks. Apparently, Arsenal are making progress on securing Ben White to a new and improved contract with the club. Talks are well underway, and both parties are keen to secure an agreement which would keep the 26-year-old at the Emirates long term. Hopefully, it's a 4 to 5 year deal, and it follows Gabriel, Saliba, Martinelli, Saka, all of these players. And on one hand, I don't want to praise the club for doing competent things, but it is nice, especially with the form of some of these players, that we dealt with these contracts early, and it's not they're leaving, they're staying, they're leaving, they're staying. You'd imagine Tomiyasu, who I believe is contracted until 2025, will sign an improved term. Ramsdale also signed one as well, as you know. Thomas Partey is contracted until 2025. So has a conversation happened or not happened? And does that indicate his future? I don't know. But Benjamin White deserves it, man. Obviously, unfortunately, as good as Benjamin White is, you know, when you've got Saliba and Gabriel and the players in midfield, I don't think he always gets the limelight, but competent player, and a bit like how Declan Rice is doing already, proven that 50 million was cheap for him, really and truly. And you'd imagine his current wage packet of 120 grand a week, which must be nice, will be improved. Big up to him, people. He's made 98 appearances for us since he signed for the club. You know, ironically, at the start, he's playing as a centre-half. He's gone to right back now. So yeah, and as we both all know, people, I say both like it's 2 people here. As we all know, Benjamin White should be in the England squad. I'm not saying he should play in his week in, week out, but in terms of defensive options, fair enough. A fit Trent, Reece James, Kyle Walker, right back. White's not getting a look in, but the ability to play right back and where the centre halves are concerned, he should be called up. But we all know it's not a footballing decision anymore, in my opinion. I did a video on what strikers Arsenal should get, so go and check out my playlist, people. Happy new month in advance. Arsenal are to rival Chelsea for yet another striker with at least 39 million needed. Benjamin Sesko, who I spoke on there, people. 6'4", relatively quick, good. He's a good striker. He's been primarily linked with AC Milan. Naturally, if Arsenal, Chelsea, all these clubs are looking for strikers, then we have to all run the rule over the same sort of guys. But we've been linked with him. He's contracted at his current club until 2028. He's got 6 goals in 12 appearances across all comps for Leipzig since signing in the summer. And apparently AC Milan are on the case, people. So much so, there are some reports where his agent allegedly has come out and said talks have happened, people. In fact, I think they're here. His agent has confirmed that he held transfer talks with AC Milan, people. Should we see exactly what's been said? He said, I can confirm that in the past, when Maldini was there, I already spoke with Milan about Sesko, but at the moment, the transfer was not possible. It wasn't the right time. In the future, you never know. Milan is a great club. At the moment, Sesko feels very good at Leipzig, where he continues his growth path. So we'll have to see, people, really and truly, what could happen. And everyone's going to be linked with the same guys. Liverpool and Arsenal are to fight for another Ajax man, a versatile fullback, people. Rensch, I can't pronounce his name, who can play as a fullback as well as other roles. I can see why he would appeal to both Liverpool and obviously Arsenal. Although the 20-year-old missed the last matches due to an injury, the defender is being linked with a move by Football Insider. He's said to be high on the list of Liverpool people. So it all depends in that regards. And we have previously been linked with him. And apparently he's also on Arsenal's wish list. The Gunners are not immediately looking for a new right back, but are taking into account the departure of Cedric Suarez in the coming transfer period. I don't think it's in relation to Cedric. I just think Cedric is our last option. God forbid if everybody's kind of hurt and no one else could play. I do think we could do with maybe another addition. I'm not against buying someone that is of the Benjamin White, the Tomiyasu, the Timber ilk, that they can play in a couple of roles, people. So we'll have to watch that one closely. Oh, you'd imagine when we was watching Timber, we must have run the rule and over him and full aware of his abilities and how good he can be and his weaknesses. So if we are to move with him, there might be some legs for that, people. So we'll have to see in that regards. Arsenal are closely tracking Sporting CP winger Jenny Katamo, forgive me for mispronunciation. The 22-year-old is also drawing interest from Spurs and Aston Villa as well as us. He's a Mozambique international, and apparently Arsenal are watching the Sporting Lisbon guy closely. Our sources have informed us that the player could leave the Portuguese club as soon as January transfer window, with a number of Premier League clubs watching the youngster in that division. Fair enough. If Arteta thinks he's good enough, bring him to the carpet, really. And we've been linked with Diamande of Sporting Lisbon. So when we went to watch the centre-back, we must have seen what this lad can offer, people. So we'll have to see. Let me know your thoughts on everything. Let me know your thoughts on what you would do in January, because I know some of you would prefer a winger, a striker, a centre-mid, or so on and so forth. For me, if we never had these issues up in central midfield, I'd probably more want a striker. But with what we're going on, I think between next summer and January, we need to act in the central midfield department. That's the one position that there's kind of question marks. We've got a bunch of decent options when everyone's fit defensively. Whether you believe in all the Sakas, the Martinellis, the Trossards, the Nketiahs, Jesus, so on and so forth. I think we could add two names there, but I think we've got some good options. Midfield, Declan Rice is the only one that provides real longevity. Of course, Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Kai Havertz, Fabio Vieira, they can all play as false eights and in that eight void that Xhaka left. But I don't think we have any options that can compete for Declan Rice spot with him or play with him. I think the next one is Partey, and whether it's age, being linked with a club away, and obviously injuries, the future is bleak right now. And obviously El Nene and Jorginho, you'd imagine that within the next 2 years, neither player would be here. So let me know your thoughts on everything. Please make sure you hit the like button, you subscribe, you boost the YouTube algorithm. Tomorrow it's West Ham against Arsenal, live from 7:30. I'll be live from 6:30 to begin the watch along. Happy new month in advance to you lot as well, people, and appreciative to my regular viewers. If you're new here, subscribe. God bless you all. One love.
There's always just that active red flag, defending.
I think it's like